He was inches away from fortune, but he gave up, and he died poor, never knowing that the wealth was right there, buried beneath his feet. It was a cold November morning when João Miguel received the map. It wasn't an ordinary map. It was old, stained with dried blood, with marks that looked like desperate scratches. The shaky handwriting in the lower corner said only, "Forgive me for giving up." The envelope arrived with no return address, thrown under the door of his modest house on the outskirts of a forgotten town in the interior of Minas Gerais. João Miguel held the yellowed paper against the window light and felt a shiver run up his spine. This was no joke. Someone had marked a red X in the center of a property abandoned for decades, and that someone wanted him to find something that had never been found. For years, João Miguel lived in poverty. He worked breaking stones under the scorching sun, carried cement bags until his shoulders bled, watched his children grow up with hunger in their eyes. He knew the weight of defeat. He knew the bitter taste of waking up every day knowing life would never be different. But now, with that map in his hands, something inside him awakened. It was dangerous. It was forbidden. It was his last chance. You're going to discover in this story how an ordinary man faced the impossible, dug the earth with his own hands searching for a lost fortune, and stopped at exactly the wrong moment. You'll feel the anguish of every shovel strike, the despair of every night without answers, and you'll understand why sometimes giving up is easier than taking just one more step. This isn't just a story about buried treasure. It's about all of us. About how many times we stop when victory was so close we could touch it. The first problem emerged even before João Miguel reached the location marked on the map. The property was known in the region as the House of the Forgotten. They said no one who entered there came out the same way. It wasn't cheap countryside superstition. It was real fear, built over decades of macabre stories. In the 1940s, a prospector named Sebastião Ferreira supposedly buried a fortune in gold stolen from a royal convoy there. But Sebastião died before recovering the treasure, hanged in the public square for crimes he never confessed. His last breath was a curse. "Whoever searches for what is mine will dig their own grave," he said as the rope tightened around his neck. Since then, 3 men had tried to find the gold. All 3 disappeared without a trace. João Miguel knew this. But hunger hurts more than fear. He started digging on a Wednesday at dawn. The earth was hard, compacted by years of abandonment. Each shovel strike echoed in the silence of the empty property like a war cry. João Miguel's hands bled, but he didn't stop. He dug 1 meter. Nothing. 2 meters. Nothing. With each centimeter, hope fought with exhaustion. He dug alone because nobody believed in him. His wife begged him to stop. "This is madness, João. You're going to die because of a fantasy," she said with tears in her eyes. But he couldn't stop. Not when his whole life had been about giving up. This time, he would go all the way. The second problem appeared in the 3rd week of excavation. João Miguel began having nightmares. He saw Sebastião Ferreira standing beside the hole, watching in silence, with the rope marks still purple on his neck. He saw the dead prospector's hands pointing downward, deeper and deeper, as if saying, "It's close, but you won't make it." He woke up in cold sweats, with his body aching and his mind exhausted. His wife noticed he was changing. He talked to himself during meals. He laughed for no reason in the middle of the night. Sunken eyes, trembling hands. João Miguel was being consumed by the search. And the worst part, he knew it, but he couldn't stop. Obsession is like that. It enters slowly and devours everything. It was on the 23rd day that something happened. João Miguel was 4 meters deep when the shovel hit something solid. It wasn't stone. It was wood. His heart exploded in his chest. His hands trembled so much he could barely hold the tool. He cleaned the earth with his bare hands, scratching his fingers against the old, rotted planks. It was a box. A wooden box reinforced with rusted iron. He pulled with all the strength he still had. The box was locked with an ancient padlock, corroded by time. João Miguel grabbed a stone and struck it. He struck again, and again. The padlock gave way. He opened the lid slowly, like someone opening a door to another world. Inside the box there was only a letter. No gold, no fortune, just an old piece of paper, written in the same shaky handwriting as the map he had received. The letter said, "I'm sorry for deceiving you, but I needed someone to know the truth. I gave up. I was so close, but I stopped. The treasure is exactly 1 meter below this box. But I didn't have the strength to continue. I thought I was digging in the wrong place. I thought I had been fooled. So I stopped, and I spent the rest of my life regretting it. If you're reading this, it means you went further than I did. Don't stop now. Dig 1 more meter. Just one more. João Miguel read the letter 3 times. He felt his legs weaken. He looked at the bottom of the hole. He looked up at the sky that was beginning to darken. He was exhausted. His body ached in every muscle. His hands bled. His mind was broken. And now, after weeks of suffering, he discovered that the treasure was right there. Just 1 more meter. 60 centimeters of earth between him and the fortune that would change his life forever. He grabbed the shovel. He lifted it to strike the first blow. But he stopped. The exhaustion was too much. The doubt was greater. What if it was another lie? What if there was nothing down there? He had already dug so much. He had already suffered so much. Wouldn't it be easier to accept defeat and go home? João Miguel dropped the shovel. He climbed out of the hole. And he left. He never returned. He died 10 years later, poor, working until the last day of his life. On his deathbed, he held his eldest son's hand and said in a weak voice, "I was so close. But I stopped. Don't make my mistake. When you're almost there, take one more step. Just one more." 2 months after João Miguel's death, a farmer bought the abandoned property. He was leveling the ground when he found the hole. Curious, he went down and saw the open box with the letter inside. He read it, and he decided to dig just to be sure. 1 meter below, he found it. 8 reinforced wooden chests, filled with gold bars, ancient coins, jewels, and precious stones. The fortune was valued at more than 20 million reais. The farmer became rich. João Miguel went down in history as the man who stopped one step away from victory. The cruelest truth about life is that most people give up when they're almost there. Not because they're weak, not because they lack talent, but because the last meter is always the hardest. It's where exhaustion screams louder than hope. It's where doubt seems more real than faith. João Miguel wasn't a coward. He was human. And that, sometimes, is the greatest tragedy of all. How many times have you stopped when you were close? How many dreams have you buried because you thought you were digging in the wrong place? How many times was victory one step away, but you didn't take that step? The story of the man who stopped digging one step before the treasure isn't just about buried gold. It's about marriages that end one day before the fresh start. It's about businesses that close 1 month before profit. It's about students who give up on the last exam. It's about artists who stop creating when they were about to be discovered. The world is full of treasures buried 1 meter deep, waiting for someone who won't give up. The question that remains is, are you going to be João Miguel or the farmer? Will you stop when it gets hard, or will you take just one more step? If this story moved you, imagine what else is hidden in the places you least expect. There are even more disturbing secrets waiting to be revealed. Click now and discover the truth that no one had the courage to tell you.